Hey, movie lovers, welcome to another episode of the Does It Hold Up News. I'm Adam.
And I'm Emily.
And you know what we do here. We're going to go over a couple of things that's happening in the world of film and television and give you an update on the weekend box office. So, we weren't here last week. Life just got in the way, got really busy, couldn't get a good video out for you guys. So, we just didn't. I know, I'm sorry. Sue me for it. That sounds really bad, but we did want to get a video out. We just weren't able to. And we didn't want to put out subpar, material.
Oh, yeah.
So we actually have 2 weeks worth of box office to cover. And we're going to start with last weekend, which was the July 7th weekend. We had Insidious: The Red Door open up number 1 last weekend with $33,013,036. In week 2, Indiana Jones took second place with another $27,421,076 and a 55% drop. That's not a great drop. But it does have a current running total of $122,126,405. So it's made some money. The problem is it had a $250 million budget.
Ooh, yeah.
In number 3 is another new movie, Sound of Freedom, which took in $19,680,879 over the weekend. Has a running total of $41.6 million because it did not open on the weekend. It opened on July 4th. And we're going to talk more about this movie in a little bit because there's some weird, strange happenings going on with it. In 4th place in its 4th week was Elemental with another $10,032,422 and a 17% drop. This movie is holding way better than I would have expected it to after its opening weekend. It's so far taken in just under $110 million. In the 5th spot in its 6th week is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, taking in another $8,030,398 and a 33% drop. This movie is holding pretty well for opening up so high.
Yeah, I think we know who might win the summer.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the number 1 movie of the summer unless there's some miracle movie coming that I'm unaware of, like Barbie or Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But its current running total is about $358 million. It currently sits in the first place for all movies released this summer. And it's, I believe, second place for all movies released this year. Just behind, and when I say just behind, it's about $200 million behind the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. In 6th place, we have Joyride making its debut with only $5.8 million.
That's actually kind of sad. It was a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, so real quick, No Hard Feelings or Joyride?
Joyride.
And yet it made less money in its opening weekend.
It doesn't have the big name actress of J-Law.
I assume it was because it was also going up against Insidious and the second week of Indiana Jones, which No Hard Feelings was not competing with either of those movies.
True.
Speaking of No Hard Feelings, in 7th place, that's where it lands in its 3rd week with another $5.4 million, a 31% drop, but it has taken in about $40.5 million. In 8th place, in its 5th week, is Transformers: Rise of the Beast, taking in another $5.1 million and a 31% drop.
It's just chugging along.
It does. It seems like it's got really good legs. It's just going to keep kind of making money. I don't think it's going to get to that $200 million, but I would put it probably, it's got another $10, $15 million in it, I believe. So it might get to about $160 million, which means it's past Fast X, which everybody thought was going to be a big hit. In 9th place is The Little Mermaid in week 7 with $3.7 million, a 32% drop. It's taken in $289.2 million. When this movie hit $180 million, everybody was like, oh, it's kind of, pun intended, dead in the water. And they didn't really know where it was going to go, but somehow it just keeps staying in the top 10, pulling in a couple million every single week. It's rather impressive.
This movie about mermaid getting legs definitely has legs.
Yeah. And then in 10th place, with a pretty good drop, is Ruby Gillman: Teenage Kraken in only its 2nd week with $2.8 million and a 48% drop. That doesn't sound like a big drop, but when it opened so poorly, that's a big drop. You want to see it only drop about 10 to 15% if it's going to open that badly.
Yeah, this is kind of a really big disappointment for them, and that's kind of sad. I actually kind of enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
It's going against way too many
exactly, and watching Elemental almost pick up momentum, I think that's what's overshadowing Ruby Gillman currently.
Yeah.
So box office is a hell of a trip. And then we have the current box office for what just came out this past weekend. And no surprise, in the first spot is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Obviously, it's first weekend. But it did only take in $54,688,347. That's incredibly low for a movie of this magnitude.
Yeah, you kind of expect Mission Impossible to just blow everything out of the water.
Now, granted, it did release on Wednesday. So this is just its box office from the 3-day weekend. But if we're counting when it actually released, it's made just about $78.5 million. In second place is Sound of Freedom in its second week with another $27.2 million. Again, it's crazy. I don't understand this movie, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later. In the third spot, dropping 2, is Insidious: The Red Door in its second week, only taking in just over $13 million, a 61% drop, which is about normal for a horror movie. You would just expect this one to hold a little better considering how big of a franchise Insidious is. In the fourth spot is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, with a 55% drop, only taking in $12.2 million in its third week. In fifth spot is Elemental, with $9 million, just over $9 million, in its fifth week. Pretty impressive. This movie is now up to $125.7 million total gross. I never saw that coming after its opening disappointment.
Yeah, I'm really surprised it's still in the top 5. Not mad about it, I'm just surprised.
Come this weekend, it's not going to be. In sixth spot is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I believe this is the first time it is out of the top 5 since it released. It's its seventh week with another $6 million. In seventh place, Transformers Rise of the Beasts just keeps going and going and going. In its sixth week, takes in another $3.5 million with a 33% drop. In eighth is No Hard Feelings with $3.3 million and a 39% drop, so it's holding decently for not opening that big. In ninth is Joyride with only $2.7 million and a 54% drop in its second week.
Oof.
This movie is going to be a came and went in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, something that everyone forgot and then maybe come back to later.
Yeah, I think this one's probably going to be big when it hits streaming because it just didn't do anything in the box office. And in 10th place, still hanging around in its 8th week, is The Little Mermaid with another $2.4 million and only a 35% drop.
Still chugging along.
It's still going. I'm surprised it's still in the top 10, but again, come this weekend, got some big releases coming out. I expect a lot of these movies to fall out of the top 10. Yeah, so the box office is looking really odd.
Yeah, not
Mission
the summer
Impossible
blockbusters we were expecting.
Yeah, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 opened up much lower than expected. Indiana Jones drops significantly again, along with Insidious. But one movie that is very surprising is Sound of Freedom. And I wanted to talk about it just a little bit. Because this movie is doing really well at the box office. And a lot of people are like, holy crap, this is a huge surprise hit.
Mm-hmm.
But is it? So I was doing a little research into this movie, and it was made by Angel Films, who makes a lot of faith-based movies.
Sure.
And this movie is all about a cop who puts together a team to stop child sex trafficking. Okay. And he does it with faith. Of course.
Yes.
Sounds like an interesting movie, but it's a movie that was sitting on the shelf for years. This isn't something that was just recently made. This was shot back in like 2016 or 17, and it's finally getting its release.
Okay.
But what's weird about its release, they're reporting really good numbers, but when you go to their website, they have a really interesting thing happening called Pay It Forward, where they're allowing you to buy a ticket for somebody else who may not be able to afford that ticket. So you can go on there, you can click Pay It Forward, and they're going to ask you for $15. You pay the $15. Then somebody in an impoverished area who wants to see it or just can't afford it or whatever will go to this site. They'll request a ticket. Now, the queue is like 6,000 people long. Like, you're not getting a ticket just immediately.
Yeah.
You have to plan when you're going to go see this movie because you're not getting a ticket for like 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Okay.
After you request one. But you go and you pay the $15, and then somebody can go request a ticket. They'll send them a ticket. They go to the theater. They give them the ticket. And they see the movie. Here's where it gets interesting. To me, that feels a little bit like a double dipping. where they may, I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying they might be saying, we've pre-sold this many tickets. So we're going to count that amount of money in our total box office right now. And then the theater, when these people bring those tickets in, or just anybody walking off the street buying a ticket, reports the numbers. They're saying, we've received this many tickets for the movie based on this price point. There's a total. So I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but it definitely feels like they are adding in their pre-sold with their current sold, even though they may or may not be overlapping.
One thing that I find interesting is that $15 price range.
National average is $10.45.
Yeah, we've gone to Dolby movies, the premium movies, for less than $15. They're pocketing extra money then.
If you look at the fine print on their website, it says, we reserve the right to use this money as we see fit, meaning they will give it to people. Whatever is left over, they will use to help market this movie farther or put it to use making future projects. That's not the problem. They can use the money. If you're donating the money, use it however you want. You kind of know what you're getting into. The problem is, are you dipping twice? Are you saying this movie is making this amount of money pre-sales and this amount of money in actual sales, even though those two numbers share about $5-6 million?
I
don't know.
I'd be interested to find out.
We'll never find out.
No.
We'll never find out. But
someone may do a documentary about it someday.
For this type of movie, coming in at roughly, I think it's like $90 million made already in the box office, that's unheard of for a movie like this. Without big studio backing, without...
I didn't even hear about this movie until it was already out.
Exactly. Nobody did. And yet somehow it's making all this money. So it was just something interesting to keep an eye on. We're going to touch upon this again every now and then. Next up is The Flash drops to 13th place after only its 4th week. And it only took in about $1 million this past weekend. That's sad. But I have a feeling it's because you brought this to my attention. They have officially announced when it will be available for digital purchase and rental.
It actually dropped yesterday for digital purchase,
which was July 18th.
Yes. And there's no word yet for streaming. However, many people assume it's going to be in August.
Yeah, if it's anything like they did with Shazam, it was a month after it was pulled from theaters, it went to digital, and then a month after that, it was on Max.
Although it's not even a month after it's been pulled from theaters.
Because it's still in theaters. You can actually go to the theater right now and watch it, or you can just stay home and rent it, or buy it. I would probably say just rent it. Don't waste your money.
Or wait another month.
Yeah, or just wait another month. That's the best way to do it. But it was just interesting for what was supposed to be one of the biggest movies of the summer.
Yeah.
Is already basically out of theaters and coming to streaming.
Yeah.
But that should be the last time we talk about The Flash. I hope so, because I'm getting real sick of talking about this movie.
Yeah, I'm over it.
Yeah. But that does lead us into our first news story. There has been some new DC movie castings, and this is all for the Superman Legacy movie.
Okay, I was wondering.
They're going hard on this movie, and I don't know if it's going to work all that well. So first up, and I apologize for mispronouncing the name, because I'm going to mispronounce the name right out the gate here, is Edie Gathegi, or Gathgi, as Mr. Terrific. Not a name a lot of people probably know, but you may know him as Laurent from Twilight, the first 2 Twilight movies, or Darwin from X-Men First Class, the mutant who can absorb other people's powers and never die.
I loved him in both.
He's a fantastic actor. I'm super excited. I just don't know how familiar people are with Mr. Terrific.
I thought that's who you were talking about. People not knowing who that was. I was like, no one knows who Mr. Terrific is.
No one knows who Mr. Terrific is. Well, not no one. A lot of people don't. Yes. So that's going to be interesting to see if that character can bring people into the theaters. Next is Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho, another DC character I don't think a lot of people know, but he's basically made up of different elements, fire and stuff like that, and he can control different things with different parts of his body. It's super weird. You may know Carrigan as the Mist from the Flash TV show, or Victor Zsasz from the Gotham TV show. So he's no stranger to DC. He's already been in 2 DC projects, and now he's going to be in a 3rd. Somebody at DC loves him.
Yeah, a little too much.
A little too much.
You're going to confuse people watching your stuff.
But he's a great actor. He was great in both of those roles, and he's coming off a recent Emmy nomination for his role in the TV show Barry. So he's at least really good at what he does, so it's going to be interesting. Then we have Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl. You may know her as Dora from Dora and the Lost City of Gold, or as Lizzie from Instant Family.
I like her a lot. She's really fun.
I like her too.
I don't know that she's going to be a good Hawk Girl.
Yeah, that's my worry.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with her. I just don't think that was the right character to give her.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what she does with it, because at this point I just don't understand what they're doing at DC. But I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what they're actually going to do, because they're making a lot of weird choices I wouldn't have made, or I don't think many other people would have made.
Yeah.
So either it is going to pay off greatly, or it's going to be an abysmal failure. And either way, I'm here for it.
Yep.
The last one that I know people are really going to like is Nathan Fillion has been cast as the Green Lantern, but not the one you know. He's not Hal Jordan. He's Guy Gardner.
Is he like an older one?
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It's going to be interesting.
He is Green Lantern.
He is Green Lantern. He is, you may know him as Mal from Firefly, or the voice of Green Lantern in the DC animated universe, and he's pretty much been everybody's casting for Green Lantern since the DC universe started.
I mean, yeah, if you keep the same voice actor in multiple of your animated movies, which are wildly successful.
And shows. You were right. And shows. He also did the Green Lantern in the Justice League Unlimited series from back in the early 2000s.
So why not just keep him?
There's a bunch of fan films, and when I say a bunch, there's like 2 or 3, where he actually gets to play the Green Lantern, and he crushes it every time. So this is great casting. This is the first casting choice where I'm like, absolutely nailed it, and give the fans what they want.
Yes.
All right, our next story is another strike is happening in Hollywood. SAG-AFTRA has decided to go on strike because they couldn't come to terms on their most recent contract. They are joining the WGA, who is currently on strike and has been for about 2 months now. And the reason we haven't updated you guys on what's been going on with them is nothing's happened. Neither side has moved, and so they're just at a standstill, and I don't think reporting on nothing has happened is very interesting. But expect things to happen now. What's interesting about this SAG one, though, is it's not everybody in SAG. So SAG covers a wide variety of people, from actors to radio announcers to puppeteers, which was super interesting, and even voiceover artists. But not all of them are on strike. Only part of them. And it's anybody covered by the AMPTP part of the contracts. That covers basically Hollywood actors, stuff like that. But that's not everybody. That's not stage production people, which are underneath SAG-AFTRA as well. They're under the AFTRA part. So it's interesting that only half of them is going. I expect the other half might be joining them just in solidarity, but that's unconfirmed as of now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first thing they want, wage increases. They want wage increases to reflect the inflation that's been happening in our society over the years, and yet their wages hasn't really gone up as much as inflation. And I know what everybody's thinking. Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't need more wages. Brad Pitt doesn't need more. Margot Robbie doesn't need more. I get that. But you also have to remember, this also covers all the actors who are doing day-to-day work, who are showing up to work 2 days on a television show, making the minimum wage possible, and that's how they live. They're not getting paid millions. They're getting paid like an average worker right now. They need more because their jobs are few and far between sometimes, and you can't live on what they're currently paying. Next up is AI use. It's always about the AI lately.
Yeah.
So basically, actors don't want to be replaced by AI. So what they're worried about is you can hire an actor in, they can come in, do a day's worth of work, get paid for it, and then the studio can use AI to recreate that character over and over and over again without ever paying that actor again. And I understand there would be a lot of problems with likeness issues, but you change the person just enough to cover that, and you don't have to pay them anymore. So they want to limit how AI can be used in the future going forward. I agree.
Well, yeah.
Let's not let the computers take over.
No.
Then we have one that I just skipped real quick, was residuals in streaming. Everybody wants more money when it comes to streaming because nobody knew streaming was going to be the next thing during the last negotiations. And so Netflix streams a show for 10 years. Well, the contract only covers for like 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. So then there's 7 years of your show being shown to people you're not getting paid for. So they're trying to make sure that the residuals will keep coming in. Virtual auditions. This is the one that blows my mind. So during the whole pandemic, people had to send in self-tape auditions, actors of all kinds. So they would have to set up a camera, have somebody read opposite them, do the lighting, everything, make themselves look good, send in an audition tape, and hopefully get the job. That's money. You gotta buy a good camera, you gotta buy lighting, you gotta pay somebody to read opposite you if you don't have good friends. Like, you have to find space. Some of these people live in like a 1-bedroom apartment and they don't have the space to do an audition, so you have to go find that. And they've continued to do it. Even though we can go back into actual auditions, a lot of places have continued to only do virtual auditions. And actors don't like it. They don't want to spend money to maybe get a job. They're spending money to apply for a job. We all hated it when we went to college.
Yeah,
when I went to college and I was like, I gotta pay $50 to just apply to go to your school without knowing I'm gonna get in. Stupid.
Very. It's ridiculous that you expect people to put this much effort in just to be considered for the role.
Yep. So they're just saying they want to go back into physical auditions so that they can get feedback right away, they can know what's happening right away, and it just helps them save a little bit of money. Because gas, although it's expensive, is a lot cheaper than an entire setup. But now that there's a second union on strike, I imagine stuff's going to happen soon.
Well, yeah.
We're going to have a lot to report on coming up because now you don't have writers or actors working. Nothing can happen right now. I know you had an interesting story that you told me the other day about when this strike happened. And what was it?
That during an Oppenheimer premiere, they had actors get up and just leave because that's when the strike was announced. They straight up got up, left. Nolan explained to everyone, like, oh, they're going to go make signs for the picket line.
Yeah.
They are not going to come back and they can't do any more press for that movie.
Yeah, because as part of the strike deal, you're not allowed to work. And that includes press tours, premieres, interviews, all of that. You can't do that right now if you're part of this strike. And so all new movies coming out who haven't had their premieres yet, who are still out doing press tours, good luck.
It's really sad, though, because it's like you worked really hard on this project and now all of a sudden you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor, basically.
People are going to go see it anyway.
No, I understand that, but like to be a part of your own premiere.
Yeah, but sometimes press tours and premieres are a little too much, and we don't need that. It's a little too.
That is fair.
On. All right, 2 big things left to talk about here. So last week, when we didn't do a news program, they had the reveal of the new Wonka trailer.
Yeah.
We get our first look at this movie, other than like behind the scenes stuff. We get our first actual look at what this movie's going to be about and how it's going to look. And I gotta tell you, it looks interesting. I don't know if the aesthetic or what they're going for really fits with either of the Wonka movies we've already had.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where in the world this fits, what universe it's going for. Is it part of the Tim Burton verse or is it part of the Gene Wilder verse?
Honestly, the biggest problem with doing a Willy Wonka story is you're always going to get compared to Gene Wilder's, which is an amazing version. And watching this trailer, he does not live up to Gene Wilder.
No, they're definitely doing their own thing, and it is a young Wonka, meaning he has time to grow into either the Johnny Depp or Gene Wilder Wonka. I just don't know which one it's going to be. I think they're trying to go for a mix of both, and I'm not 100% sure that's what fans are going to want.
All I know is that Wonka has been confirmed a wizard, basically. If you watch that trailer at all, you see way too much is happening in that movie that would constitute magic.
I mean, he had magic in the Gene Wilder version. Charlie
the
and the Chocolate
magic
Factory.
only was the fizzy
candy.
lifting drink.
I mean, he has a door that changes sizes and stuff like that, and rooms that manipulate and move around.
That is all
he was
visual
always,
trickery.
No, he's always been magic. That doesn't bother me. The one thing from the trailer that really stood out to me, though, is Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa. Never thought I'd want it. but he was the best part of the trailer by far.
I absolutely love the fact that he starts with a song. He's like, nope, once I started dancing, it's all over from
Yeah,
here.
and he just has to go with it. I'm really curious because Hugh Grant has been having a hell of a resurgence with his career where he just pops up in like these beloved franchise movies or, you know, these beloved fantasy movies basically, and he crushes it every time. He was one of, if not the best part of the new Dungeons and Dragons movie from earlier this year. And in Paddington 2, he nearly steals the show from Paddington himself.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, he didn't. I love Paddington. They are two of the most perfect movies ever made, in my opinion. But he came damn close to stealing that entire movie. So I'm very curious to see what he's going to do as an Oompa Loompa.
He always understands the assignment.
He 100%.
And he is enjoying every moment of it.
And anytime I get to see him sing and dance, I'm here for it. Because he did it at the end of Paddington 2, and it was a delight.
Oh, so wonderful.
And now I get to watch him do it as an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
The other reveal we got was Deadpool 3. We got some behind-the-scenes pictures of what's been going on, and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine gets the classic yellow and blue suit.
So classic.
I don't like it.
I kind of imagine that might not even be his entire time in that outfit, but more so like Deadpool's self-referential thing being like, this is what you should be wearing. Ha ha ha.
No, he's definitely going to wear it longer than that because he wears it when they first meet and fight.
Okay.
What bothers me, though, is it looks like armor. Like, if you look at it, it's not like blue and yellow spandex. It looks like it has a little bit of padding and armor to it, and like it looks more rigid. And I'm just like, you have super healing. Why do you need some kind of armor? It was interesting, though. I am excited that he finally gets to put on the suit after playing Wolverine for 23 years now. He finally gets to put on the suit we've all been waiting for. But I do have some sad news about Deadpool 3 as well.
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell them?
Because of the strike, it has stopped filming indefinitely.
Correct. They have officially ceased production on Deadpool 3 due to the strike. They cannot work. I'm surprised they were even working that hard. I guess they just really like the script and they're not going to change anything because they didn't have any writers available.
Yeah.
But now they can't have actors available either. So it's basically come to a standstill. And I expect it to be postponed. You're going to see this release date get pushed back. You're going to see a lot of release dates, depending on how long this strike lasts, get pushed back.
Even just by a couple of weeks. Stopping filming for any reason can really offset when things come out.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to follow along with this strike and see how many upcoming movies it's going to affect. Because every single studio who's already released a slate of movies, watch it change.
No wonder no one's coming to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Because they literally have no idea.
They have no idea what they can talk about.
Yeah.
That's it for the news. As always, we're going to end it up with talking about the new releases coming out this weekend. And there's really only two to talk about. We have Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, the biopic of the atomic bomb, the 3-hour epic.
Which I am so excited for.
Yeah, it's got half of Hollywood in it, so I'm really excited to see how it goes. I'm also a huge history fan and Nolan fan.
And it looks beautiful. I'm not looking forward to the 3-hour runtime, but I am looking forward to just watching it and experiencing it.
Absolutely. And the other movie coming out this weekend, of course, is Barbie.
Yeah. Even since it's been announced, I have not been excited for this one, unfortunately. I just think it's going to be the life-sized all over again, the movie starring Tyra Banks. Probably better, but, you know, it's that idea for me. I feel like I've seen it before.
I just don't know what they're going to do with it, so I'm interested to see where it goes, but I don't really have hope that I'm going to walk out loving it, but I also really hope I'm going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yes. I always hope that.
Yeah. We'll have reviews out for both those movies sometime this weekend, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can get those reviews plus more content. We also do a podcast. You can find that anywhere podcasts are available. Just search for Does It Hold Up, where we talk about some of your favorite movies of all time to decide if these still hold up to today's standards. And until next time, remember, you're a legend, you're amazing, so be good to yourself, but more importantly, be kind to others, and keep watching movies.
Bye.